Hello and welcome to Network Africa with me, Cynthia Are. Now, yesterday we had a chat with our South Africa correspondent, Betty Dibia, who informed us that President Jacob Zuma of South Africa would be having his first State of the Nation address. However, no one anticipated things would go the way they did when the parliament descended into chaos as leftist MPs scuffled with security during the key annual speech by President Jacob Zuma. The Economic Freedom Fighters, that's EFF, led by Julius Malema, repeatedly interrupted Mr. Zuma, demanding answers over a spending scandal.
Opportunity to highlight the achievements of the ruling African National Congress, ANC, and its plans for the year ahead. But he received a hostile reception from lawmakers from the far-left Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, led by firebrand former ANC youth leader Julius Malema, who started to challenge him about graft allegations.
I'm rising on the point of order. I'm not working for you. I'm not here on your invitation. I'm elected to be here. No, I'm not going to leave. I'm elected to be here.
President Zuma had barely begun speaking when EFF members began interrupting, demanding to ask the president about when he would repay part of a $23 million state-funded security upgrade of his rural home. A clearly angry speaker, Baleka Mbete, warned several EFF members to sit before ordering they be removed by security officers, prompting a brief brawl in which several people were injured.
Take your seat.
Lawmakers from the main opposition Democratic Alliance, DA, also left the chamber. Newspaper front pages on Friday, February 13, ran headlines including House of Shambles and Pandemonium in the House. A day after the chaos, South Africans on the streets of Johannesburg reflected on the ruckus in Parliament.
I think the EFF, you know what, they do have a position, but I think they just got out of hand. I support the DA walking out the way they did. As far as the speech goes, disappointing. Nothing significant. Same old every year, nothing happens.
Others said they believe the chaos was taking attention away from the country's problems.
It was just a disaster, and it's bad for foreign investment. And actually, like our sentiment here as a country, like you listen to the news, all they're now talking about, instead of talking about South Africa's problems, they're talking about the chaos in Parliament yesterday. And the signal jamming and the removal of EFF like that, I don't know, I just don't know where we're headed.
We should focus on the real issues, and I think that's everyone's responsibility. So one should probably not pay too much attention to what happened with the politicians last night. I think everybody should just do their part and help this wonderful nation, to make it even better.
South Africa's usually calm parliament has been shaken up by the EFF winning 25 seats in last year's election. EFF members sport red overalls and hard hats in the chamber in a symbol of their apparent close ties to the working class. The president's popularity has been waning, following what was seen as extravagant spending on his rural home at taxpayers' expense, and as South Africa's economy has slowed sharply.
Now joining us live via telephone is our South Africa correspondent, Betty Dibia. Betty, thank you so much for speaking with us on Network Africa.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Now, could you tell us what exactly happened in Parliament yesterday?
Well, we were promised this would happen. Probably not to this extent, but we expected something to happen because the EFF hadn't been quiet about it. They said they will be there. And, the SONA, as it's called, the State of the Nation Address, it's become a tradition involving the whole country, different aspects, including red carpet and all that. And we were told that this would happen. But we didn't know it would happen indeed because various groups intervened, like religious leaders and all that. But then it was just, let's wait and see what will happen. And indeed, just barely 5 minutes into the president's presentation, the first EFF member of parliament rose to ask, when are you going to pay back the money? Is it through EFA? Is it through EFT or through check or through, money transfer? And that was expected, but they kept rolling, rolling on and on with different, they say point of order, points of privilege. And while the very frustrated Speaker of Parliament, that's Ms. Balekambete, tried to it was visible on her face. Then the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces intervened, but it didn't work out. And before then, everybody had heard that the security operatives of the Parliament, they were getting extra training to handle any situation that would happen. And indeed, the interruption happened. They were called in. But now, added to them, the police came into the chambers with arms, which, they feel is an aberration, which was why the second group, the party, that's the official main opposition group, DA, now decided to walk out. That why would the police with arms come into the sacred chamber of the parliament? So it was quite rowdy, but at the end of the day, the president still had his nearly 1 hour of the stage to make his presentation, presenting his 9-point plan to improve the economy, which included but the reactions are still going on. Some are threatening to take the parliament or the executive to court, but we'll see how it plays out. But part of it was expected.
The president still got a chance, about 1 hour, to address his 9-point plan. But did he thoroughly address those issues since the uproar basically started, 5 minutes into the session?
Well, the uproar happened and ended because they were taken out. The official feed panned away from how they were taken out because some were bodily carried, some were hitting people with the hat. But people were recording with iPhones, with iPads, with their telephones. And before this even started, what beefed up tension, the signals were jammed. And we had the chance before the presentation started, before the president even came in. And people said, why would they jam the signals? And when they went on and kept chanting, bring back the signal, the Speaker of Parliament had to find a way to get that to work, and it worked. But he got to do his presentation. Reactions are mixed regarding if he indeed delivered something new. But he did what he had to do. He went into detail regarding, as he called it, the energy challenge, because he was cautious in not saying energy crisis. He referred to it as resolving the energy challenge in the country, because calling it the crisis could have some, bigger implications on the economy. But he did what he could, talking about the energy challenge and what is being done. I know that in December, when the issue of wet coal and cracks in the coal silo of one of the plants happened in November, what is called a war room, energy war room, was established. Government officials to find short and medium term as well as long term plans regarding the problem. So he went into details on things that are being done to improve the energy situation. Among that, improving the finances of ESCOM.
Yes, that's as regards the blackout challenge, right?
Yes, regarding the blackout challenge. Improving the finances of ESCOM as well.
Quickly, if you can, Betty, what did he really dwell on the blackout situation in the country now?
Yeah, well, when you say blackout, there's some areas have it better than others.
Okay.
Let me speak of myself. Where I live, I've seen blackout like just 3 days within the past 2 months. I'll be honest. I don't live in a highbrow area, but some areas have it better than others. Some areas, like in the rural areas, there hasn't been electricity anyway. So the blackout is not blackout. You have controlled outages. They tell you the lights will be off from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And on the dot of 10, the light comes back. Sometimes at 8, and the light comes back at 10 a.m. You know, just 2 hours, 4 hours like that. And people are encouraged during programs to reduce the pressure on the grid. That's how. So it's not a blackout, total blackout thing, but they're controlled outages.
Thank you so much, Betty, for clearing that up. I've been speaking with our South Africa correspondent, Betty Dibia, and she's saying it's not a blackout situation. But now to the next story, which is actually a blackout situation. Despite being Africa's top energy producer with the world's 7th largest gas reserves, Nigeria produces and distributes only enough power for a few hours a day, and that's for only those who can actually get it at all. That reality formed the basis and essence captured in a recent exhibition by Nigerian photographer Uche James Iroha titled Power and Powers.
Standing in the center of the hall is an installation made of electricity bills glued together from the power holding company of Nigeria. A stark reality of what Nigerians pay for but never get. With names like umbilical cord, electromanipulation, shackles, crazy bill clan, X-ray, and pictures of men in chains, James Iroha's images depict what has become a daily source of frustration for Nigerians.
I didn't need any inspiration. I just need to navigate my own personal reality, you know, because it's not a new story for a Nigerian. It's something we live with on a daily basis. So I just wanted to remind anyone who's concerned about not being complacent with the situation. That's the whole idea. You know, to also look at the core relationship between political power and electrical power. A dark romance, you know, it's unbelievable.
Nigeria's chronic electricity shortages are amongst the main barriers to investment and growth in Africa's biggest economy and top oil producer. Nigeria's lights are on for only a few hours a day, forcing those who can afford it to rely on expensive diesel generators that burn up billions of dollars worth of fuel.
You know, I find the exhibition quite enlightening. I think it's quite fascinating the way he depicts the NEPA issues with pictures. It's a nice exhibition. He did the photographer. He did a great job.
In 2013, Nigeria's President Goodluck Jonathan signed deals handing over state electricity assets to 15 bidding companies in a privatization process meant to end decades of power blackouts. Nigeria is in the process of breaking up the defunct state power company NEPA into 17 private generation and distribution companies and selling them for about $2.5 billion in total as part of efforts to increase electricity output tenfold over the next 7 years. It might be its most advanced effort yet to end its perennial power shortfall, but progress has been so slow that President Jonathan's targets look far too optimistic. Industry experts believe some improvements will be felt in 2 or 3 years. For James Iroha, the pictures, which has sold for between 300,000 naira to 400,000 naira, and not necessarily for monetary gain, but to create debate about the power situation in Nigeria.
Success comes from when the works are in themselves able to agitate the people, able to instigate some discourse or waken the people up for them to know that, look, it's not normal, because people think it's okay, I can buy a generator, it's fine. We've forgotten that we're going to pollute the environment, we're going to destroy a lot of productivity. You know, we can solve this problem. We have the capacity to solve it. We have the potentials to solve it. We have the ability to solve it. That's the painful part.
Despite the government's push for reforms in the power sector, authorities say challenges abound, especially when it comes to introducing tamper-proof metering devices. The new meters are designed to send a signal to the power station if interfered with.
Metering gap in Nigeria is so huge, and there is no scientific way of looking at people's faces and estimating the amount of electricity they are consuming. The only way to do that is to install meters. The distribution companies have received marching orders. In fact, they have gotten the Riot Act right to them. They need to meter everyone, but it's not going to be done overnight. The metering gap in Nigeria ranges from 3 million to 8 million. And that's a huge quantity, So where are you going to find that kind of capacity anywhere?
It is hoped that a good metering device will cut down on fraud and wastage and increase efficiency in the power sector.